World champion
I
Golden
never
State
watched
Warriors.
basketball till this last time.
World champion
It was
Golden
good.
State Warriors.
Rancho Park.
Are we all here? Okay. I will now call this meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the October 22nd City of Hollister Planning Commission meeting. May I have verification of agenda posting, please?
Yes, Chairman. The agenda for the October 22nd, 2015 Planning Commission agenda was posted on Friday, October 16th, 2015 at 2 p.m.
Thank you, Bill. Commissioner Harvey, will you lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Greg. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Alvarez?
Here.
Commissioner Lenore?
Present.
Commissioner Harvey?
Here.
Chairman Huboy?
Here.
And I will note that Commissioner Torres is absent at this time.
Okay. Approval of minutes dated August 27th, 2015. Do I have a motion for
I
approval?
move that we approve the minutes of August 27th as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And just for the record, I abstained because I was absent. Communications from public on items not listed on the agenda. Anyone in the audience? Any speaker cards?
I have no speaker cards.
Anyone in the audience care to address the commission on items not on the agenda? Okay, we move into public hearings. Item number 1, minor subdivision 2015-4, Rancho Park Apartments. The applicant, Eden South County, is requesting approval of a minor subdivision of an existing 54-lot multifamily housing development into one lot. The lot has frontage roads along Rancho Drive to the east, East Park Street to the north, and Sherwood Drive to the west and south. CEQA is categorically exempt. Staff report?
Thank you. Good evening.
Go.
The applicant is requesting approval of a minor subdivision 2015-4 to merge the existing 55 parcels totaling approximately 5.77 acres, 54 multifamily lots into one lot. There would be one remaining parcel that would contain the existing parking and open space. The lot has frontage roads along Rancho Drive to the east, East Park Street to the north, and Sherwood Drive to the west and south. The applicant would merge the existing multifamily lots in order to increase efficiencies for maintenance purposes. All residential uses and traffic configuration would remain the same. So these are just existing uses. They're just doing a lot merger of all the existing multifamily parcels into one lot for interior improvements.
Okay.
Any questions for staff?
Any
Excuse me,
questions?
recommendations, I'm sorry. So with this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider approving minor subdivision 2015-4, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution.
So that the intention is to improve the efficiency of the service for the, is that the?
Correct. So they're doing some updating in the interior parts of the units, and so for building permit purposes, for efficiency, it's better than to have separate building permits for each parcel. So they have to do a lot of interior renovations. So, but everything will remain the same. No exterior changes and no parking configuration changes. Everything remains the same.
Okay. Any questions then for staff? Okay, with no questions, I'll open up the public hearing now at 6:05. Do you have any speaker cards, Bill? Item number 1.
No, sir.
The applicant care to address the commission on item number 1? Any questions for the applicant? Okay, no questions. I will close public hearing now at 6:05. Bring it back to the commission for discussion. Comments?
Entertain a motion?
I entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt PC Resolution 2015-38,
38.
approving minor subdivision 2015-4 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 1 is approved. Congratulations.
drove all the way down there for that.
Okay. All right, we go to item number 2. Tentative map 2015-6, Maple Park subdivision and conditional use permit 2015-7 for a plan unit development, requesting approval of a tentative map to subdivide an approximately 5-acre parcel into 49 single-family lots, and a conditional use permit for planned unit development located south of Primavera Drive, west of Chapel Road, north of Maple Street, and east of Lorraine Drive, APN number 019-340-002. CEQA is categorically exempt. Staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant is requesting approval of a major subdivision, as you mentioned, and conditional use permit for a planned unit development, total of 49 units, encompassing 5 acres in the R3 medium density residential performance overlay zoning district. The average single-family lot size would be 2,611 square feet, and the minimum lot size would be 2,520 square feet. The tentative map has a density of 9.8 dwelling units per acre. The plan unit development proposed setbacks are as follows: front 6 feet, side 5 feet, 4 feet on the side of the garage, and the rear at 5 feet. The rear yard setbacks would vary depending on the floor plan proposed for garage placement. The applicant is requesting that the building envelope would not be less than 5 feet to the rear yard at the garage location. Main building setback ranges from 10 feet to 21 feet to the rear yard property line from the main residential building. Access to the site will be provided by a new roadway connection from North Chapel Road, with gated emergency vehicle access also provided from Lorraine Drive to the west. The emergency access on Lorraine Drive would also provide an approved vehicle turnaround to meet city standards. The site layout and interior roadways allow for continuous traffic circulation. All roadways bordering the project site shall be required to construct frontage improvements to include sound wall, sidewalks, curb, and gutter. A condition of approval has been placed on the project requiring that Lorraine Drive shall be terminated in a method approved by the city engineer in accordance to city standards. The applicant is proposing to provide an approximately 15,240 square foot private park within the gated subdivision. There would be amenities to include a tot lot, barbecue, picnic area, and open turf area. The applicant is also proposing to include opportunities for bioretention areas for stormwater to border the park space.
The City Council at its September 21st, 2009 meeting approved the initiation of pre-zone for this property as low-density residential. The applicant requested a pre-zone change to medium-density residential. The City Council authorized the initiation of application for the pre-zoning of the property and the initiation of a general plan amendment from low-density residential to medium-density residential at its April 6, 2015 regular meeting. On July 23, 2015, the Planning Commission approved General Plan Amendment 2015-1 from low-density residential to medium-density residential, and PC Resolution 2015-22, which recommending to the City Council the approval of pre-zone 2015-2. And on September 28, 2015, the City Council of the City of Hollister approved ordinance number 1122, amending the general plan for the property from low-density residential to medium-density residential performance overlay zone. At the same meeting, the council also approved ordinance 1123, pre-zoning the parcel as medium-density residential. The project is exempt from CEQA section 15332, infill development class 32. Future development of the site would occur within the city limits on a project site no more than 5 acres, substantially surrounded by residential and other urban uses. The project site has no value as habitat for endangered or rare or threatened species. Approval of the project will not result in any significant effects relating to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality, and the site can be adequately served by all required utilities and public services. The minimum lot size for tentative map 2015-6 Maple Park subdivision would be 2,520 square feet, and the average lot size would be 2,611 square feet. Although the Maple Park subdivision proposes smaller lot sizes than the city standard 5,000 square foot minimum lot size for single-family homes in the R3 medium-density residential zoning district, it conforms to the R3 MPZ medium-density residential performance overlay zoning standards of the Hollister Municipal Code. The intent of the residential performance overlay zone is to foster development that meets the range of densities for the general plan land use designations. The project site is consistent with Land Use Policy 4.4, streets, paths, and bikeways because it contributes to the city's transportation network. The project site is consistent with Land Use Policy 8.4 neighborhood scale because the project site will preserve and enhance the character of existing residential neighborhoods. The applicant would be required to receive LAFCO approval of the annexation prior to the recordation of the final map. A condition of approval has been placed on both draft resolutions, which state the following. Annexation recordation. Prior to recordation of the final map, the LAFCO approval of the annexation for the project site, tentative map 2015-6 Maple Park, shall be recorded by the County of San Benito. With this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider approving conditional use permit 2015-7 for a plan unit development and tentative map 2015-6, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolutions, with the revision to the CUP for the PUD draft resolution condition number 5, which we showed previously here. For rear yard setback to the garage at 5 foot, and then the main building no less than 10 feet. Are there any questions for staff?
Any questions for staff? Just a
Well, I do.
Okay, and then I have
Was
a
there a
comment.
landscape plan submitted? Did I miss it? Was it part of the package?
There should have been in the they had to resubmit the set with the changes. It should have been part of the, was it
This
not,
hard set?
was it not included
No.
in there? Okay.
I didn't see
Okay,
it.
apologize for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the initial set. Maybe it didn't get, the applicant might not have put it in there. Apologize.
Yeah.
This is the, yeah, it's the, is there any questions about the park
Well,
portion? Yeah.
Mr. Bickle usually does really nice stuff.
Yes,
I
correct.
know with the drought, I just wanted to make sure that there's the nice trees and the shrubs. Lawn's probably not practical, but I just wondered what it was
Yeah.
going to look like. I'm
Okay.
sure it'll look good.
Yeah, they're required to do the water efficient landscape ordinance as
Maybe
well.
I'll stop
so,
by and take
sure.
a look at it.
Yeah, I have some comments regarding the landscaping. But as a general comment on the setbacks for the 5 feet, and this pertains to all development, because I'd hate to see the applicant go through all the process, of the, getting all the grading plans, landscape plans, and all the footprints, and then realize that horizontal projections in the 5 feet need to be fire rated. So just that's with the 2013 California Building Code. If you have a overhang that projects into the 5 feet into the property line, that overhang has to be fire rated. So it's just a general comment. Right?
I remember that.
Yeah. It's nice to know that.
You're the guy.
I should know that.
Yes.
Any other comments? Questions on the staff
yeah.
report?
How are we gonna get out of there? We're gonna build houses back there. We can't get out on 25, right? So is North Chapel gonna be like 4 lanes one day, or? That's what I'm wondering.
David.
David?
It's just one in, one out.
So access to and from this site, obviously the driveway is out on Chapel Road. Chapel Road will continue to the south and intersect with Maple, and then eventually, Santa Ana. People will be able to leave, go down Maple, make a right turn on San Felipe to get to Highway 25, go south, Santa Ana, go either way, and then continue on where their destination is. The project is showing an emergency vehicle access on was that Nana?
On Lorraine Drive.
On Lorraine Drive. And so emergency vehicles will be able to get there as well. Pedestrian access, as you can see, he's showing a number of different pedestrian access points on the basically the four corners of the property. So it will be very easy for pedestrians to leave the site, go back and forth, however they want to do in order for for them to do their business. They'll also be able to get out on Lorraine Drive. Chapel Road goes north. It will and is not ever intended to connect with the bypass. There's no access rights for that area. In fact, that whole area is, sort of inside the curve. There is no access between San Felipe and Santa Ana, so they will have to go out to Santa Ana or San Felipe to get in and out of that area.
When you said pedestrians are able to access, it's not a gated community where it's gated? Pedestrians can go in?
It is gated, but they'll have pedestrian gates.
Oh, okay. I was wondering that as I was reading that. Okay, good to know.
Any other comments or questions on the staff report?
Have all the property owners been notified about this proposal? They've all
Yeah, correct.
comments from any of
Not necessarily, no, not, yeah. I haven't received any, I haven't received any phone calls or emails regarding it.
I'm just
Sure.
concerned. I'm sure it's going to do a great project. I'm just concerned about getting in and out of there. All those cars going down Maple, and they're going to come back in 2 or 3 years when it's all full, and they're going to say, "Hey, how come something's a nightmare back there?" I just want to bring it up.
Sure.
Because I'm planning on being here and dying here. I'm gonna have to be responsible for that. All right? Throwing that out there.
Okay, I appreciate that, Chris. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll open up the public hearing at 6:17. Any speaker cards, Bill?
I have no speaker cards.
The applicant cared to address the commission.
Yeah, we do.
I do have a couple of questions for you, Joe.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
Okay, I notice on one of the focal points of your project is the park that's centrally located, and it's kind of bordered by the homes, your, I guess, kind of garden-style homes with those small lots. And I've talked about this before, I haven't mentioned it for a while, though, about defensible space, because I think it's important to get good viewing lines from those homes into that park area. So when you do provide your landscaping, it seems to me that would be very important for reasons for crime to have defensible
Dave,
space.
as you'll notice that the houses alongside there's 4 houses next to the park, and the second-story windows look out over there. In some of the cases where the living room windows look out over there.
Okay, good.
So it's it's what the problems are developing along railroad home. You end up with a series of rooms going down the side of the house, that would overlook the park. And the same thing, these open spaces at both ends are actually fairly large. They're 20 or 30 feet. And although we're not putting any facilities in them, we'll landscape them. Again, there's windows looking over the particular facilities.
Good.
So the other large piece of open space, obviously, is the entry. And that, again, has a house on either side with the windows. And the last open space, which has disappeared now at the engineer's insistence, is that we put a large a cul-de-sac at the end of Lorraine. And that kind of wiped out that piece of open space we were proposing originally.
Okay.
So emergency vehicles will be able to access through that cul-de-sac right there?
The emergency vehicles would.
Yeah.
We would
Yeah.
not. We prefer not, obviously, to allow normal folks to do that.
Also, the west boundary there, are there going to be 2 stories abutting up those existing homes there, their backyards? Do you know?
The 2 stories, like he was trying
I'm
to
always
explode.
sensitive to that issue because...
Yeah, the 1-story garage extends back to within 5 feet.
Okay.
And of course, you have a high fence along there that they'll require us to build. So they shouldn't be able to see very much. And then the 2-story home actually is quite a bit further inside. So
it's
they'll
not
see
right
it,
all the way
and-
back where it's
Oh,
looming
no, it's
over
not
their
back
backyard.
5 feet. some cases, what, 20 feet?
Okay.
30 feet? Yeah, like a standard house. So we have 3 different models. Each model varies, and which you try and vary the houses.
I appreciate you letting us know. 'Cause
Yeah, they're
having
just
the floor plans. So.
Just your point
Yeah.
of reference, so that you don't yell at me later. We originally had full 40-foot lots all the way along there with full 5-foot setbacks on both sides. David felt that we should make that cul-de-sac bigger and more convenient for the people on Lorraine to turn around. In order to do that, we had to pick. So we picked the garage side, ground floor, and moved it over 1 foot all the way down all those houses. And that gave us enough room to give David a more city standard turnaround.
Good.
So those are the only houses that are less than 5 feet, or just those houses on that backside. And there's a reason for it.
Good that Dave weighed in on that turnaround. It's
Any
important
other?
that you get a good turnaround.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions for Hugh, the applicant?
I just want to make a point. This community is very, very lucky to have you guys and the city council and Billy, Brad, and those 3 over there.
That's right.
I cannot tell you how I've probably worked in 50, 100 different cities over my career, and these guys are good, and that's because of him, hiring him, number 1, and number 2, motivating him. Otherwise, we would have these guys.
Are you referring to Abraham, or who are you referring to?
Both of them, and
I have
David.
Let him go back to me. Let him go.
Thank you.
I mean, this is just very, very lucky to have these people. These guys work their tails
Yes,
off.
they do.
They do.
And they produce. They don't just diddle around.
They do. They do.
I worked
They work
with them,
very hard.
for several years.
I'm right, aren't I?
You are very right.
You're right. You.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So,
And
anyway,
Mary Paxton
thank
had a
you,
lot to
guys.
do with Abraham's
Yeah.
training, I'll have to tell you, as well as Jill. She is the driving force in planning.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
some people don't agree, but she's tops in her
Yeah.
field. I'm sorry. She
Right.
just gets the job done for me.
That's it.
But Abraham, and there's this two sides to every, I think he brings good balance, both of you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
as
miss,
a
I
community-
miss seeing them every day.
Right.
I really was a
But
pleasure.
just think how lucky we are in a community to have public servants like that
Yeah.
are willing to put the expertise and time and energy into
Yeah.
their job.
Well, you
like
got
that.
a lot of City of Hollister employees that are just like them.
Yeah, and he gets a lot
I
of
work
praise,
with
but
many
he's-
good
I just got
people.
done working with these. I can't stand up
I
there and
was
name them all.
fortunate to work with many of them.
well,
But
yeah.
then-
Both Jill and Abraham get a lot of praise, but they're still humble. They stay humble and
Yeah.
they're very accommodating.
Thank you for your
And
compliment.
then Dave also, he deserves credit for getting his technical expertise. And
Yeah, I mean, he's tough, but we've
He's tough.
generally been able to work out compromises that are
That's
good
right.
for the city and good for the future home. So, anyway, thank
good
you.
teams.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Hugh. Excuse me. Anyone else in the audience care to address the commission on item number 2? Sure.
Stand over here.
Yeah, just state your name for the record.
I will. My name's George Hawkins. I live at the corner of Maple and Chapel. And I'm looking, this is the first time I got to see the layout. It looks like there's one entrance and exit to this subdivision, which is gated, and it looks like it empties onto Chapel Road. You mentioned earlier that you thought there was going to be no significant impact to traffic in the area. Well, currently, there's a high-speed road across there, and the corner of Maple and Chapel is very congested.
When you say high-speed road, you mean?
It's 45 miles an hour.
40.
It's posted 45.
Are
I
you
was
referring
there
to Chapel
today, it's
Road?
40.
I'm referring to Chapel Road.
Chapel Road, okay.
I thought it was 40.
It was 35, and it was raised to 45. That
Okay.
means the traffic along there does 55 or 60, half the traffic. I live there, I know, I've been there 30 years. When you dump everybody out of that subdivision onto Chapel Road, that corner of Maple and Chapel is going to be very crowded. I'm suggesting maybe a three-way stop there or something to slow down the traffic and allow traffic to either turn on Maple or continue down Chapel. And I was just wondering, earlier you spoke about minimum lot size being 5,000 in Hollister, then you said it was reduced to 2,000. Is that within medium density housing? It is, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I'm just asking the question why it was reduced. I'm just curious, 49 homes on 5 acres seemed like a lot of homes. Plus you're adding, of course, streets and parks. But my main concern is the traffic through there.
Okay.
So I'd like to see somebody look into it. Because you have another 49 homes, you're going to have another at least 49 drivers through there. And because we have DMV, post office, McDonald's and everything down there, Maple's going to be pretty crowded. And it already has several stop signs on it. But several of my neighbors have difficulty, as well as myself and my wife, getting out of the driveway now. It may take us up to 5 minutes for traffic to clear so we could even get out of the driveway. So I'd like somebody to take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience care to address Commission on item number 2? Dave, did you want to comment on the last person to comment on the traffic there on Chapel Road, Maple?
So there really hasn't been any discussion on stop signs at turning Maple and Chapel into a 3-way stop. There already is a stop at stopping Maple onto Chapel. Primavera onto Chapel. Those are stops as well. One of the things I want to point out about this subdivision is that the applicant, the subdivider, he's doing things that will help slow the traffic down. If you notice along Chapel Road, there's what we call bulb outs. In between the bulb outs are 2 parking spots. Those in the bulbs that come out, there's going to be landscaping, some trees, and some other things. Those are typical traffic calming devices that have been used, throughout the throughout the states on to help slow traffic down. So this subdivision is actually doing something that will help that traffic flow. The intent is that Chapel Road will be a 2-lane road back and forth. It's not a collector, but it acts like one. So there will be more traffic on that road, and as that whole area develops, Chapel Road will become more of a traveled way. So we are, the subdivider is doing this on his own, and wasn't required to do it, but we made it a very he made a very compelling reason to do this, and you'll find, I believe you'll find that once the project is built and the landscaping has matured, there will be a really nice looking project. Mm-hmm. So as far as the speeding on that road, this will, in a sense, hopefully, and by design, slow the traffic down.
So, as opposed to the blank road.
That's correct.
Because in the bulb outs, they mitigate parking on the street. Is that how it works, Dave? How the bulb outs?
Well, what happens is it narrows the road down, and as cars travel down a road, they come across a narrow spot, and when that happens, the drivers instinctively slow down. They don't want. They feel like they're getting squeezed in. There's a lot more of our newer subdivisions are doing this, and it does provide for a way to slow the traffic down. Like I said, without the bulb outs, there's going to be there would be a lot more parking
right
across the frontage. This Each one of those bulb outs takes out 1 or 2 spots.
Right.
But it also brings the curb closer, brings the trees closer to the road, and narrows that road down.
Okay. I know Mr. Bickle's done that on his other development that we talked about not too long ago. Yuki, did you want to come back? Sure.
We were one of the early people to get involved with new urbanism, and the idea of narrowing streets down, making them curved, and making them busy, by the way, slows the traffic down. But I'm perfectly willing to, put the striping and the 3 stop signs in, provided David can justify it and tells me to. I mean, we still have to submit our street improvement plans, and he gets, in a sense, another shot at us. Mm-hmm. So if you guys want that, you can tell him, and he'll see if it can be justified. We have no desire to make the neighbors unhappy.
Right. Well, I appreciate the comments from
One of the criteria for
gentleman
a
there.
stop sign, though, is not usually speed control. Isn't that correct? Is that still true?
That is true. Stop signs are not used as speed control for roads, because what happens, people will eventually develop a false sense of security, and thinking that a car is going to stop, will walk out in front of that car, and the car won't stop, because over time they have shown that, they have witnessed and experienced that stopping at a particular stop sign that hasn't been warranted, there's no reason to stop. So they look quick, and boom, they're on their way. Drivers will just assume that the stop sign's not there. The stop sign will basically disappear for them, and that's why we do everything we can to, when we have a warranted stop sign, with advance warnings and other things. But the big key for putting a stop sign is the warrants, and the warrants are identified in the manual uniform traffic control devices, and they are, they have to meet a certain engineering standard before they can be justified, and pedestrians or collisions, or there's a whole number of different warrants that need to be met. Some of them don't all have to be met, but some of them would. So the likelihood with this project that a 3-way stop would be warranted at Maple and Chapel is most likely not there. It doesn't mean that it won't be warranted in the future, and those are things that, as the engineering department, that we try and keep an eye on, and we monitor, try and monitor all the intersections in town. The ones that are getting close, we monitor a little bit more, but as we find intersections that meet the warrants, then we'll go to city council to get authorization to put a stop sign in. At that point, what happens if we put it in when it's not warranted? There is a potential of opening up certain liabilities to the city.
Thank you, David. Any other questions for applicant or David? Anybody else care to?
I just wanted to touch a little bit on the lot size, because I understand what he's saying. I struggled greatly the last few years with the shrinking lot. I was always, through the planning process, the 6,000 square foot lot. Unfortunately, the city needs to condense and grow in, not out. We don't want sprawl. It also brings an affordability factor, hopefully, with the smaller lot. But it's part of the performance overlay zoning, and if you want to know more about it, and I know that Abraham would be happy to talk to you about why they're small. Most of them, there's just, I think the 6,000 square foot lot in the city limits is probably a thing of the past. I know these are small, but I think you're going to find that you're going to have a nice quality development across from you that is better than some that I've seen built in the last 10 years. So I'm excited for that. And I do sympathize with you on the speeding. I hope there's a solution to that. I live on San Benito Street, and it's no fun. I know you got some speeding there on Chapel Street as well, but I think they're right. I think as it develops, people will slow down they're in a residential area. It's not just a vacant land. I hope the best for you, honestly. Thank you for giving us your comments as well.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. Anyone else have any comments? Questions? Okay, I'll close the public hearing now at 6:35 and bring it back to the commission. Okay. For discussion. Any comments from the commissioners? We have, we're looking at the tentative map, conditional use permit with what was the condition, right?
Revision for the setbacks.
With the setbacks, provision of the setbacks. Okay.
Say that again?
Yeah, we're going to have a motion, separate motion for the tentative map and one
Yeah.
for the
PUD.
CUP.
then the CUP.
Right.
Right, and then the CUP has a condition regarding the setbacks. Am I correct, Abraham?
That's correct.
Okay.
An additional condition?
It's a condition to modify the setback to include what's stated on the red in the screen, that 5-foot setback to the rear from the garage and main building rear yard setback would be no less than 10 feet.
So you're adding a condition to the
It would be just to
resolution?
modify the existing condition number
Which
5.
condition is it? Number 5?
Number
Number
5, yes.
Okay, no comments. I entertain a motion. Sure.
I move that we approve PC Resolution 2015-39, approving tentative map application
For the CUP.
2015-6 with the amendment of condition number 5 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The subdivision
CUP.
CUP has been approved. Okay, now,
No, that was the tentative.
the
map.
tentative map, okay.
Just so that we don't get too confused, we kind of switched them up, but that's okay, because we'll go ahead and we'll do the tentative map first. That
That's
was
what I
that
just
motion.
did.
Right.
Yeah. And
On
then
our
the
on our
CUP.
list, we had it
Yeah.
the other way
Oh,
around.
yeah. No,
but
I
that's
know
okay.
the tentative map comes first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So now I entertain a motion on the CUP.
I make a motion that we approve PC resolution number 40,
Yes.
approving for a conditional use permit for a planned unit development, subject to the conditions that, with the setbacks.
A second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The conditional use permit has been approved. Congratulations, Mr. Bickle. I know you do a good job like you do on your other projects. Okay. You want to hang around for that one? Okay. All right, so then we go to the housing element, 2015 revision. The Planning Commission of the City of Hollister will conduct a public hearing to receive public input on the 2015 revision to the City of Hollister housing element. The Commission will review strategies to comply with the state requirement to make sites available for housing. The information from the public hearing will be used to help formulate policies and programs for the 2015 housing element revision. Abraham?
Thank you. The California Department of Housing and Community Development is required to determine San Benito Council of Governments' existing and projected housing need pursuant to state housing law. Amendments to Senate Bill 375 requires San Benito COG jurisdictions and others on an 8-year housing element planning period instead of a 5-year planning period. December 31st, 2015 is the housing element due date. The Department of Housing and Community Development determined San Benito COG's regional housing need to be 2,194 for the projection period of December 31st, 2023. In determining the regional housing need, consideration was also given to the extraordinary uncertainty regarding national, state, and local economies and housing markets. As a result for this, regional housing needs cycle only HCD made an adjustment to account for the abnormal vacancies and unique market conditions due to prolonged recessionary conditions, high unemployment, and unprecedented foreclosures. In completing San Benito COGS RENA HCD applied methodology and assumptions regarding the following factors per the government code. There's first anticipated household growth associated with projected population increases. Next is household size data and trends in household size. Vacancy rates in existing housing stock, and relationship between jobs and housing. In updating their housing elements, local governments may only take RENA credit for units approved, entitled, or permitted since the January 1st, 2014 start date of the regional housing needs projection period. Localities are also required to describe how units were credited to different income categories. It's based on actual or projected sale price or rent level data. Any city planning to accommodate a portion of the regional housing needs on sites within a city's sphere of influence needs to include an annexation program in the housing element. The city of Hollister doesn't have an annexation program in its adopted housing element because there weren't many parcels being considered for annexation at the last housing element update. However, now the total area of land approved by LAFCO for annexation to the corporate limits of the city of Hollister since 2011, this is starting with the Gibson property on Trespinos Road, which is west of the bypass, consists of 105.63 acres, of which 57.78 are designated for general commercial and 47.85 for residential. So the total area of land in progress for annexation is an additional 130.04 acres for residential development.
Thank you, Joe. So the city's portion of the 2,194 regional housing needs allocations that were provided is 1,316, and as Joe mentioned, this is the city's portion, and the categories are very low, moderate, and above moderate. And as of now, as Joe mentioned, the allocation period started January 1st, 2014, and it's goes all the way to December 31st, 2023. And so far, as of January 1st, 2014, there has been 30 units built for constructed today for very low, and that's the Hillview 2 project that's between Central Avenue and Buena Vista Road. And there has been 91 units above moderate. And that's based on the construction that has occurred since January 1st, 2014. So the remaining new construction needs are now actually 1,195 as opposed to 1,316. That's due to the 121 units that have been built since January 1st, 2014. Currently under construction, there are 6 projects, and out of these 6 projects, 81 units have been designated for moderate income, and 303 have been designated for above moderate. And these are projects that have been approved recently through the Planning Commission for tentative maps, and these are currently under construction. Now, projects that are next slide. Projects that have been approved are 14 and allocated, and with these, we have a total of 28 units that have been designated for very low, total of 53 for low, 326 residential units for moderate, and 1,212 units that have been entitled or allocated for above moderate. In summary, for the categories, for above moderate, with the 91 constructed, 303 under construction, and 1,212 approved and allocated, the city has met the above moderate category of housing need provided by the Housing and Community Development Department of the state. So at this point, that has been met. For moderate, with 81 residential units under construction, 326 approved and allocated, the city has also met the moderate category of housing need provided by HCD. For low income, with 53 residential units approved and allocated, the city requires to plan and designate sites for at least 136 low-income residential units. And for very low, with 30 constructed and 28 approved and allocated, the city requires to plan and designate sites for at least 254 very low-income residential units. Jurisdictions that have an adopted housing element that the Housing and Community Development have found in substantial compliance with state law may opt to use the streamlined update template to show where changes were made in the previously adopted housing element. As the Planning Commission is aware, the City of Hollister has an adopted housing element. The use of the streamlined update does not relieve the jurisdiction of its obligation to address all statutory requirements of state housing element law, but rather provides a guide to updating the necessary portions of the housing element. The eligibility requirements for the streamlined update are that 1. A housing element for the previous planning period was adopted, as is the case here in Hollister, and found to be in compliance with state housing element law. And 2. A complete update housing element is submitted showing all changes to the housing element, and if it is determined that no changes are necessary to a specific section, then indicate as such. So the next steps, staff will take public comment. Staff will continue the review of the certified housing element and note any updates and changes. Also, City Council has requested a joint Planning Commission City Council meeting to discuss the housing element update. The date is proposed for Thursday, November 19th, which is the next Planning Commission meeting. If it works for the Commission, it would be great to start the joint City Council Planning Commission meeting at 5 if possible, and then move on to deal with the Planning Commission business after the meeting. And then finally, staff will schedule another duly noted public hearing with the Planning Commission for November and identify a draft updated housing element. Hopefully by then it will be more in a draft version to discuss and go over with the Planning Commission for recommendation to the City Council.
When will the meeting in November, the second meeting will be after the next week or something?
Well, at this time it would be just on the same day. Hopefully by then we'll have at least a good draft.
Staff will schedule another duly noted planning public hearing.
Yes.
But that's after the 19th.
After
correct?
the 19th, so more than likely it's going to be December. In December, it would probably be the regular schedule meeting of December.
Okay.
For that. Yeah.
I won't be here in November.
Oh, okay.
I'll submit comments in writing then.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Other commissioners work for your schedule, as far as you know? I'll certainly be here.
Great.
Okay. Does that include your staff?
That
report?
concludes our report. At this time, we'll take comments. This is a public hearing as well. We would like to take comments from the public. Again, in summary, we do have an adopted certified housing element, which is great. It is anticipated not to have a lot of changes, but we would include additional information. For example, we do have quite a bit, as Joe was mentioning, on the LAFCO approvals. We do have quite a bit of inventory now that we can also include in our housing element for this cycle, and additional changes as well to update any of the categories of the housing element as well.
Okay, so any questions on the report on the housing element?
Not currently. I have some concerns, but
I do have some other comments, and Billy, you may have to jump in on this one too. So, first off, I want to do apologize for being late to tonight's meeting. I was at the California Coalition for Rural Housing Summit in Asilomar, where I sat on a panel where we were talking about housing elements and affordable housing. This is a 2-day-long conference in Asilomar where we discuss affordable housing issues. So, as a representative of CHISPA, we presented our pipeline of potential developments throughout Monterey County, San Benito County. And HCD, Cal HFA was there, representatives from Cal HFA, USDA Rural Development was in attendance. There was a number of local cities in attendance as well to meet with HUD folks to talk about their housing elements. And I did take the paperwork you provided us, and I also took a few other things with me to present to them on a one-on-one with them. And a couple of the questions that I had asked of them were whether or not, for example, our projects that we as Planning Commission have provided affordable housing allocations to could be counted towards some of these RENA numbers. And second question was developments such as Chispas, the Buena Vista Apartments project with 41 units being developed in the county, but then will ultimately be annexed into the city, if those could be counted in there as well. And so I presented my paperwork to them, including the report that you presented, and they were going to look at that and make a determination of whether something like that would be done. Whether or not the city would entertain communication with HCD in regards to that as well was brought up. And so I don't know if Abraham or Billy, you would be open to that discussion with them, because I would think wherever we could get those numbers to add to our RENA numbers would be very helpful, even if it's stuff that we have in the pipeline that doesn't appear in here and could be accounted for
Absolutely.
early enough. So I just wanted to pose that question and that suggestion to maybe could get in contact with HCD and touch base with them. They do have this paperwork with them.
Very well.
So just a heads up on that.
Very well, Commissioner Torres. If you have a contact that we can call directly, that would be great. Yes, and we agree. I think if we can, even though on of a moderator, it seems like it has met the criteria. As you can well see, for low and very low, we're still
not there.
Behind,
Yeah.
and it would be good to see what we can do to
especially
get
with projects that we as a commission have already allocated, saying these will be affordable units.
Yeah.
And if the developers continue to commit to those affordable units, I think that would again help our numbers here.
Yes, absolutely.
That was my comment.
Thank you, Gabriel, for attending that conference.
Yes, thank you. It's good.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions on the housing element?
We're lucky to have your expertise in that area.
Thank you.
It's a critical area, and you can
It
see
is.
it's going to be
Well,
could
it's-
be an issue for the city.
It's very
I sure
challenging.
don't want to see any
Yes.
fines when we don't meet the regional housing needs.
Right.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what we come up with to develop strategies for low and
Well,
very low
I
housing stocks.
think you'll just send that message again when you have your joint meeting.
Okay, any other comments? You going to take public hearing on this?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing now at 7 minutes to 7. Anyone care to address the commission on the housing element revision?
I had no speaker card, so
No speakers?
I'm sorry.
Let's make sure it's well publicized whenever we're doing.
Okay. Well, hopefully we get a lot of public comment on the November 19th date.
Yes.
Okay, I will close the public hearing now at 7 minutes to 7. And, let's, the difficulty factors are there to see what we can do to promote this housing that are identified in our housing element that we so sorely need in this community, and that's for housing for our low and very low income.
Yes.
Well, we're the bedroom community, and there's two things that have to occur. Jobs, yeah, but you also need the housing for those workers to work those jobs. The wages aren't like Santa Clara County, so you can have all the jobs in the world, but they can't afford the above moderate home. And the low is really tough.
Right.
I'm sure it's a tough thing to pencil those for developers, but obviously the state wants something done.
It brings into mind what Sam Farr told me. It's not affordable housing, David. It's workforce housing. That's what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
I mean, to quit being a bedroom community, we're going to need both.
Right. I will say at this conference they were really stressing the fact that measures such as inclusionary ordinances are going to be, you're going to be seeing a comeback of those. But the difficulty with the local jurisdictions and the builders is going to definitely come up. And so the headbutting will continue from back in the day when the development was really booming. And there's a lot of laws that have been passed that prohibit or exclude some inclusionary requirements. But again, that would be a discussion that we will have as a planning commission with the other commissioners and with the city council members, definitely. So
They have
keep
the
that in
final
mind.
say on that issue.
Right.
Yeah, we do have, again, some experts in town, and they have all been willing to provide information to council members, to planning commissioners in regards to affordable housing, as well as a lot of the NIMBY, not in my backyard information, the latest, greatest literatures that discuss basic things as property values and things of that nature. So they have made an all-out campaign here lately, not only to find a more permanent source of financing for affordable housing up in Sacramento, but have revamped a lot of the marketing materials that we as commissioners and our council members will have to address with their constituents, that address property value issues, crime issues, education issues. So all of those documents have been revised, and at today's conference they were talking about December, January, having those available to us at our ready, so that we can provide that information for anybody who either meets with us on an individual basis or comes to the city and asks about affordable housing. So you're not put on the spot answering all these really detailed questions. You can provide either a link or the actual document themselves. So the resources are forthcoming. So just a heads up.
Anything you think would benefit us or myself personally on the issue of affordable housing, I'm open.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Also, we'll probably talk about sweat equity projects too,
Yes.
and the value of sweat equity projects and the value of affordable or workforce housing that is well designed and very integrated, so you can't really discern what the income level of the user is because of the design and defensible space and crime and the myths associated with workforce or affordable housing.
I have to tell you that the Gateway Palms is looking pretty spiffy still.
Oh, wait, thank
I
you.
would love to see more of that.
Why, thank you. And
Very clean and
as we look through the vision of the West Gateway and that some of those mixed-use developments go underway, it's going to integrate better, I think. But I think to really get the value, the aesthetic value of Gateway Palms, you need to go inside
Right.
and park in the interior spaces, like you were saying, Bill, right? That's where you really
upkeep has been excellent on it.
Get the value of
That's
it.
good.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Carol.
It's
Thank
good. People were scared of that project. For me, I always love a big, tall, new building. I don't care where it's at. I just like new.
Yeah.
And I know they were a bit wary of the color and the
Yeah.
graffiti, and none of that's
Right.
occurred.
Mhm.
It's really softened and looks pretty good right now.
I thank you for that. Anything else?
Yes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we just vote on 100 affordable units and our city council shot us down? Was that, am I wrong, Bill?
Though that was, you're talking about the Rakovich.
Yeah, we lost those 100.
Right.
But
But we
can't make them.
the applicant had received allocations for affordable units, and we held them to it because that's what they needed to do. They needed to demonstrate to the commission that they were affordable or workforce, and they, in my view, they did not.
I don't put it
do that.
on
So
the council, though. It's
Our decision was that they had to do the 100 units. I don't know what happened to the city council. What happened there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they designated
I think
them
that was the
non-affordable.
question that Chris had, or Commissioner Alvarez had. I apologize for that.
It's a bigger picture than
they,
it seems.
the city council at their meeting overturned the planning commission's decision to retain the affordable apartment units or the multifamily units at the, I think it's called Homestead, the Rakovich 22 property. So yes, Commissioner Alvarez is correct.
Was that a recent city
Yeah,
council?
it was,
right. It was the two meetings
yeah, the
after.
applicant appealed your
Really?
decision and went to
October,
the.
September.
We had an appeal date, and then what was it? September.
That was the second meeting of September.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's a good topic of conversation on November 19th with City Council, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Don't worry.
I'd like to know
It will
why.
be.
But there was factors for their decision. The council's not the heavy. We have
Well,
to
but
start
they
this
said-
process in a much earlier time than what this one occurred. when those annexations are going in, we're going to have to make it clear what we want. I wrote to the council, I said, you're in charge, and let them know what you want, because the mayor said when you want something, ask for it. If the developers don't know you want it, then how are they going to provide it? So that's what I said. They have to start making it known that we have needs to be met, and the housing and community development wants those goals met. They're really not going to have a choice. They're going to get in a corner if they're not careful.
Do we know if that was a unanimous vote?
Yes, it was.
Yes. Two had to abstain.
Two abstain.
Two abstain, Councilman Clower and
The Mayor Velasquez.
Ignacio, because they live within 500 feet. But still, I understand why they had to do that particular one. But I said in the future, you're going to have to get a jump on it so
Well,
they know.
I don't understand until we talk about it some more.
And we're never going to solve affordable housing issues like tonight.
Right.
One of the things that I think this commission has to be very well aware of, as well as our city council, is, we all can sort of argue about regional housing needs and whether they're divvied up fairly throughout the state of California. I mean, one of the things is that the way I think they do it is a little bit biased, but so be it. I think the other thing is that the state of California took away one of the greatest tools that communities had to provide affordable housing. One of the things that never got sort of cross-meshed here is that as a redevelopment agency, the Planning Commission and the Redevelopment Agency Board / City Council always had an excess of affordable housing units developed in the city of Hollister. We always met our goal and went well beyond our goal. What's sad in a lot of these cases is that what we've done in the past that was in surplus doesn't count. It's forgotten.
From 2014.
Right? So we have over 1,000 units of affordable housing in our 10,000 unit stock that nobody else really cares about. We do, because we've created it, and you all should be very proud, and the city council should be proud, because we have always been affordable housing proponents.
Yes.
That's how we've operated. It is going to be difficult moving forward. We need to figure out where funding comes from, tax credits, getting projects that are competitive in those fields, and the state actually has to help out a little bit.
Yes, they do.
So we can leave it at that. And whether or not we've taken some affordable housing stock out of our allocation pool, again, we can sit here and argue that if there's no money to do it, it's not going to be built anyway. And that's
the state's
always
going to realize that, I hope.
Well, I don't know if the state's going to realize it, or if it's not going to be. It's always just going to be our problem. But vacant land will be vacant if developers aren't going to develop if it doesn't make money. I mean, that's their job, right? That's their business.
Yeah.
Even nonprofits have to make some money.
Our job is to provide housing for all sectors of the community, not just the moderates.
Right. Like I said, I think that you understand that. I think the council understands that. Staff certainly understands it. And when we tap in or find those resources to do it, we can do it.
So those 1,000 units that we have a surplus, largely from the participation of the RDA, wouldn't you say, Bill?
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it was RDA.
Yeah, there's some USDA homes that were built, in the early '70s that the redevelopment agency didn't have much to do with, obviously, because it wasn't in existence. We didn't start until 1983, but from about 1985 on was predominantly redevelopment.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a shame.
they eliminated about $3 million a year annually for just affordable housing in Hollister. And that's a lot of money.
That is a lot.
Well, I'm still kind of
That's too
upset
bad.
with Governor Brown
That's
on
what
that
happened.
one.
Yeah, at this next joint meeting, we will be bringing some information in regards to new sources of funding that are being looked at. And again, Governor Brown has vetoed two affordable housing bills here recently that have the tire industry upside down and very upset.
Right.
But the next round, we will be going after it very, very much like the oil and other industries with the lobbyists and trying to get that happen. So I will bring that information to the next
You know,
meeting.
Excellent.
your participation is really going to be valuable on
Yeah,
this.
the California Coalition for Rural Housing has a lot of valuable information, as well as direct lobbyists in Sacramento that are dealing with this day by day, and they actually have some really good information that we could actually use and get out to the community.
No, Gabriel, I'm really thankful that you're
Yeah.
on the commission.
No, I'll get that for the next meeting for sure.
Yeah. Great.
Can I ask Commissioner Torres a sec? When you were talking about these, were they talking about these units with recorded restrictions for various length of time. Was any of that discussed at all? When the city's required or asked to build 100 very low income units, what's their thought process on how do we record or how do we restrict them for what period of time?
Yeah, there was some discussion there, and it also depended on the sources of funding. I know that several were talking about the resale restrictions for a USDA property and the ones that were tainted by redevelopment agency that had a 45-year, others that were city down payment assistance at some time, depending on the jurisdiction, were a 30-year restriction on them. So different organizations were saying, well, we've used this source of money, this source of money. So every development they built had a variety of different restrictions, and even so do ours. But in some cases, for example, the ones that we will be building here in town will have just basically an excess equity note, no actual restriction unless that homeowner decides to use another source of down payment assistance funding, and then that would be subordinate to whatever the city funding and those restrictions. So, yeah, but there are definitely signs of various organizations relaxing those restrictions. As a matter of fact, one of our developments that was in Castroville, Moro Cojo, that were in perpetuity affordable, the Board of Supervisors made those changes and put that down to a 20-year. So there is definitely a movement going to reduce those time frames for affordability. Because the homeowners deserve their opportunity to access that equity in those homes. And so, you know.
Any other comments?
One more.
Well, I thought you were the one who had your son's baseball game.
I know.
Oh, come on, so let's get it done with, okay?
I want to make sure my
You're
son
missing the 49ers.
and daughter can buy a house in this town when I'm dead. The other thing I want to is spread the affordable housing around.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? It doesn't seem like we're doing. Oh, it's all going on the west side over here. Where are you building those apartments? Right over there.
But
I don't
West
want to have
Fairview
the have. It's going to be the haves and the have-nots.
Did you see
and
that
that's
West?
what I do not want.
I was very pleased with West Fairview. The amount they're doing 100 in there, something like that.
160.
Yeah, that's going to be great because it is on the
that
east side.
If
It's
it
gonna be
gets
good.
built.
I agree with
How
you.
gonna-
I agree
long
with
have
you.
we
There's-
been?
Yeah.
We've
No,
been
they'll
going.
build
We
that.
do need
We've
to
been hashing that
spread it
over
around.
and
We
over
do.
and over.
Yeah, we've
you
been
know.
talking about that.
I pray that it
It's
gets
part
built.
of their development agreement. They
So
don't have a choice.
was that 100.
Yeah, but that wasn't done the
You know,
same.
that was proposed. I mean, it's
Yeah.
proposed. As,
No.
You know, I mean, they made it look really good and everything, and then all of a sudden they, pull the rug right under.
That's what
But
So,
West
I mean,
Fairview is written in the development agreement, correct, Billy?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a go.
Yeah, I won't believe it till I see
Okay.
them constructed. I
Okay.
drive through there and I say, beautiful project.
Okay, well, listen, with the exception of Commissioner Lenore, we'll all be there on the 19th.
Yeah.
Talking about this.
Bells
Okay?
on.
So let's move on. Any new business?
No new business, Chairman.
Department reports?
None from us.
No, I was just going to mention we want to try to do this joint. The council asked for a joint meeting. I think this came up at a perfect time. We are going to do it at 5 o'clock. 5 to 6 will be a joint meeting. We'll adjourn. We'll start your regularly scheduled meeting at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
That's the plan.
And I'll have a cocktail in your honor.
Okay, thank you.
Good, you're going to be on the
If
cruise.
it's in my honor, it should be 2 or 3.
What's going on cruise?
One other.
We'll miss you, Carol.
One other brief report is last night I attended a workshop information meeting, I should really call it, on the restriping of downtown. It's a project that has been in the works for a while. It was really to just give, again, downtown business owners and residents an opportunity to hear what we're actually doing, not to provide input, really, because those decisions have already been made. So that project should be going out to bid here very, very shortly, and we're going to try to get that done as soon as possible. It's really just a repaving or not repave. I should stop myself. I'm going to say it's going to be a slurry seal of Seminole Street.
Angled stall still?
For what's is it only going to be third to south?
A third to Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
Third to Hayden.
Oh, good.
Are you going to do angled stalls?
No.
No, okay.
Have you not seen
I
the
don't
plan,
know.
Chairman?
No,
Do you know all the stuff that I do
Keep
around
it
town, Bill?
parallel.
I can't do it all, okay? You try playing your guitar at a bunch of events and
It's called
giving
priorities.
speeches and stuff. Chairman
What's
of
the
Commerce.
meeting, how many people were at the meeting last night?
40, 30, 35, 40 maybe?
As it is, I work 10 hours a day in my architectural business.
You chose the
Well,
profession.
you got me going. Any other, is that your, conclude your department reports?
Unless you want me to keep picking on you.
Okay, that's okay, I can
Nah,
take
we're
it.
good,
You know
yeah.
I can take a
Thanks.
joke. Just for that, I'm going to give a planning commission report. But
There
it's
you
gonna
go, thanks, Bill.
It's going to be short. Okay, I just want to thank everyone for coming out to the Olive Festival, and it puts San Benito County on the map for olive oil. You know, it's a healthful commodity, and other agricultural products that were there. It was well attended, and my band, the Architecturals, played there with other music, and Chamber of Commerce booth. I was there with Julie and Kathina with San Benito Benet, one of the organizers. It's quite an event, so I just want to thank everyone for participating and organizing this event. Concludes my Planning Commission report. Anybody else have a Planning Commission report?
No?
I'll have a motion for adjournment. Entertain it.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks for coming. We'll see you on November 19th.